Yeah, it's probably gonna happen. Every day I see my daughter's Christmas Day. Yeah, and you know, we have traditions, but we gotta be flexible too. Wait for them.
Let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. This is our work session council meeting, December the 4th, 2014. And if you would please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good. Father, we just thank you for this time that we have to meet about our city. We ask that we have good input from our citizens and that we go about our business and make everything better, the decisions we make. We also want to thank you for beautiful lights that we have in our city and the personnel we have here. We are in a good mood most of the time, and just keep our citizens safe as they return home tonight. All these things we pray in your name. Amen.
Thank you. All right. You get, Sue, do you have, is that proclamation in there? Okay. Do you know what the dates were? Okay. Sometime we're gonna have one of these bring one for the chipper days. And it's always after Christmas, so we got a little time to let you know the exact date and the location, and so that we will have that at our on the 18th. So that's plenty of time for everyone to know that we can get the trees recycled, hopefully. I will, item 4, consideration to approve the agenda. I have a couple of items I want to amend the agenda to. First one is, I'd like to include item E under new business as the street department lease of Canton textile mill property. And this is for a site, a storage site for some gravel and sand and stuff for the adverse winter weather. So it's one location where they want to do it. It's a good location, centrally located here in town. And that's not the only one. There'll be others, but this is just a lease with the property owner for $1, I think. So we'll be all right there. The other item is I would like to, Mr. Huffman had asked about adding under old business. I will add the city goal updates. We'll do that and have any reports that may be available on the city master plan, economic development, park management, as well as debt management. And the last item I'd like to amend the agenda to is to have an executive session to discuss personnel, and it will we will not be coming back out to make any vote or anything else, but we do need an executive session for personnel. Any other items, Mr. Huffman?
Yeah, I have one I'd like to add is a discussion or information gathering maybe from our Assistant Chief Mitchell on body cameras.
Okay, now let's do that under new business, item 10F.
Okay.
Mayor,
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
I'd like to add Great Sky Streets under old business, please.
Old business, okay.
And-
Hold up a minute. Let's make, item A is the city goals. Item B under old business will be Great Sky Streets. Okay, yes, ma'am.
And under new business, I would like to speak briefly about Gospel Fest that occurs in February.
About what?
Gospel Festival.
Oh, okay. That will be item G, Gospel Festival, February. Okay.
What was item E under new business?
Street lady.
Thank you.
Any other items? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended. Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. All members voting for the motion. Okay. You have as part of your agenda package the minutes from November the 20th, 2014. Are there any changes, corrections to be made to those minutes? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes as presented. Second motion, have a second. Those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. All members voting for the motion. You have also in your agenda package the financials for October of 2014. If there are any questions or comments, if there are any questions, Mr. Grant.
Just had a question under the water and sewer. We discussed a couple months ago on getting an update on the new sewer treatment plant because it's such a product. I think we discussed getting a monthly update. I don't think we got one last month, but just interested if we got the final number on the design changes to the station, to the plant, and I don't think we have a total on that yet.
I'll tell you what, I will be more than happy to give council a number. I don't have that number off my.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Anyone else? Okay. That's for informational purposes only, so we don't need to vote on that. 10-minute public input period. We have about 4 folks here that would like to speak. Mr. Peter Williams. Well.
Here good.
Yes.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Peter Williams. I'm relatively new to coming back to town, but I've spent most of my life between here and the Roswell, Alpharetta area. I'd just like to say thank you again for letting me come up and speak. I own a coffee shop in town. If you guys don't know about that, I'm over inside of Audio Intersection, subletting from them. And just wanted to discuss a little bit about what I heard from feedback from clients of mine about the parking that we have now, the parking enforcement that we have going on now. I myself, I love to donate my spots, so to speak, to any of my clients. I absolutely 100% am behind all of us as business owners and employees getting off of Main Street permanently for parking, just because that's for my clients as well as yours, as well as anyone else's that's in town. I don't know if anybody else has really looked at the 2 hours specifically, but I have a lot of groups that have been unable to come in between the hours of 8 and 5, well, really between the hours of 8 and 3, because after that, of course, the parking doesn't really matter for 2 hours, but had a lot of study groups as well as Bible groups and things like that that have been unable to attend at my location because they're unable to, when you're in the middle of a group like that, to interrupt that to go move your vehicle has just been more of a problem than it has been using my place as a solution for their problem of needing space. So what I'd really like to do at some point is discuss or find out if we're going to have any discussions about what we could do for solutions for that, perhaps extending that period from 2 hours to something like 4 hours, so that clients that would like to come in and get their hair cut or go have lunch at an establishment in town and then come over and get coffee or go to another establishment to then shop, they don't have to move their vehicle and try to determine off of a map that is located in another business where they can go to, things like that. It's just been a little bit muddier than the new clients especially, and those in the groups have wanted to deal with. So that had been brought to my attention, and I just wanted to come to council and present that to you guys. So that's where I stand on that. If we do have anything, if you can let us as business owners know what we can do to make things easier and come up with some solutions for our clients, not specifically for us, but for our clients to come in and be able to not move their vehicles as often, that would be fantastic.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Webb. Very much.
Absolutely.
Don't know if I can read, is it Sherry? or-
Chelsea.
What?
Chelsea.
Chelsea, okay.
Sorry,
All
I'm
right.
bad
I see that now. Chelsea Wilkes and Jana Tillman. Okay.
Hello, we're sisters and we own Bloom Hair Design right above Keys Jewelry. We just did a story on it. And we have been here for 3.5 years and we've loved it. And Jana came from Rome and I came from Kennesaw doing hair. And we came together and our salon has done great here, even when 3.5 years ago Canton wasn't really that busy. So the fact that it's gotten busier is amazing. We love the coffee shop, we love Beloved, the stores, and the more restaurants, and our clients are loving that too, because our clients mostly aren't from Canton. They're coming from mostly Dallas, Acworth, Kennesaw, Marietta, and some Atlanta, Alpharetta, Roswell, that kind of thing. And we do Carterville and Rome, because that's where most of her clients followed her. And I had hundreds come with me from my previous location in Kennesaw, and they were coming from Dallas and Acworth. And so anyways, the problem we're having is we do cut and color. That takes, on average, 2.5 hours. And they're saying that they can't find 8-hour parking, which I believe, because I can't find it either. I don't get here in the mornings, I get here, later in the day and it's full. And I'm fine with parking and walking, I was just trying to learn where there's usually gonna be a spot open. So we've been paying a lot of tickets, and obviously that's not good for our business because we're not really making money personally off of our business. We are separate business entities inside of our businesses because we're booth rental. And so we just really need some help on that because our clients are not coming because they're trying to book separate days. And you got a client coming from Dallas on a Tuesday to get a haircut and then a Thursday to get color just to avoid the parking issue. And then our clients also love, because they're not from Canton, they want to come get a coffee. They want to go shop at Beloved and they want to go eat at Painted Pig, and they can't because literally we had a client run out with wet hair because her car was about to get ticketed, and I was like, no, you can't leave with wet hair because I like to finish it and so they can see what it looks like, So I just really feel like our business has really it's been really stressful since this happened, and I do know why it was done, but I do think we weren't thought about. And I talked to Autumn at Autumn Joy Salon. She's having the same problem. She's just not as, she doesn't have the volume of clients at once, so I don't think it's as much of an issue with her because she don't have as many people like on her about it and bringing in tickets and stuff like that. And it's not that our clients expect us to pay it, it's just that we want them to come back. So like if you get a ticket on your car, please bring it because we don't want them to spend $200 plus with us, $80 plus on products, and then go out and find tickets on their car. Because they're paying us just like they're paying anybody else. And we really love and respect our clients. They put food on our table for our children, and we want to stay in Canton, but we can't with this parking.
Okay. Did you have this problem 3 years ago?
No. And we used to park behind Downtown Kitchen, and that's fine, that's their parking. We parked there for 3.5 years, and I know we couldn't do that anymore. So it was an adjustment to figure out where we needed to park, and I personally can't even find parking, but I didn't know we could park in the deck behind the courthouse. I didn't know that. I thought that was courthouse parking. So there's lack of signage, even the off-street downtown parking, I didn't know that was free, and I mean, I'm fine to unload my car, and then go in and go back out, go park my car, come back, that's fine. I just want my clients to know that they can park near our salon. Because, I had a lady with a broke foot having to go move her car and stuff, and we're having to leave to go do that. We go move somebody's car, we're 30 minutes behind already, and it puts me getting home late to my daughter to get her fed, and then, it turns into more of a home problem, not just a work problem, just being like stressed out, and it was never like this. So
Okay.
that's it.
Good. Thank you very much. Makes a
Can I
good, makes a
ask you a
good
question?
point. Sure.
How long does it take to do a hair transplant?
Hair transplant. I wish I knew.
More than 2 hours.
Yeah.
Doug Key?
I didn't know I was gonna get to speak, but that's, everybody here that knows me knows I've had a passion about the parking issue. First of all, let me say that for my business, this has been a godsend. My clients have a place to park now. So for me, it's good. However, I was part of the DDA. I've been very vocal about the parking issue, as anybody in here that knows me knows. But I did not think about hair salons and other places that needed more than 2 hours. So I'm not here to, I've got a couple ideas that might be solutions. Do the parking tickets that are printed, do they identify the owner of the car? I mean, I know you can do a tag search and find the owner of the car,
Identifies the vehicle through the tag number on the vehicle.
but do you know when you write a ticket, do you know who the car belongs to?
Only when they come and issue the citation. Gives year, make, model of the vehicle that's downloaded in the system, and person comes and issues the basic citation, that all goes into the system as well.
But until they've paid a ticket, you don't really know who owns which car.
Not at that time, because the park enforcement officer's not running that tag through the Georgia Crime Information Center.
The reason I ask it, and it may be more trouble than it's worth, but if we could get 4 hours parking for downtown clients and keep the 2 hour for downtown employees, again, if the tickets identified who the owner was, you'd know pretty quick. You'd get a nice list of downtown employees that are abusing the privilege. That's one idea. The other idea is a voucher system whereby folks who have clients that need more than 2 hours, all they have to do is stamp the ticket with their business stamp, bring it to the police department, and the ticket's taken care of. Because this is running people out of town, this is causing businesses to move out of town. I don't know how much taxes the small businesses downtown pay, and we may not be worth the trouble, but that's another possible option of just allowing us to stamp our business stamp on our client's ticket. Therefore, they get a grace from the city, because we don't want to run business out of town. So that's two possible options that would maybe could be workable to help folks whose clients need more than 2 hours. Like I say, I'm an advocate not only for myself, but if there's not business around me, I'm not going to have much business either. So we're all in this together, and we need to do everything we can to make it as palatable as we can for every type of business that wants to be down here. And right now, we've got a lot of good things going on downtown for the first time in a long time. So that's what I've got.
Thank you, Doug. Appreciate it.
Mayor, do we have another, I saw Mr. Cagle too, is he gonna speak, or can?
We have one other person,
Okay, I just wondered if after that, could we enter a little conversation about this parking issue?
Sure. Joe?
Yes.
Good enough?
Oh, there you go. As most of you know,
You were hiding.
I own 2 businesses downtown. Hi, by the way. I love the city of Canton. We moved here about 2 years ago, opened our first business, Painted Pig Tavern. The parking has been an issue for us. The Painted Pig, we've closed for lunch now, and it's not because of the parking, it wasn't doing that well for lunch anyway. But the study on the other hand, the clientele that we cater to there, for lunch anyway, they're groups of people, mostly ladies, the Red Hat Club, tea parties, book clubs, stuff like that. The day that the parking started being enforced, we had a 13 top in there of older ladies. They can't walk from a parking garage or a parking lot all the way up to the study. They just can't do it. They don't have that in them. The fear for them was to get out in a lot of time to get back to their car so they didn't get a ticket on it. Our prices at the study, I mean, we're a little bit higher than the average restaurant, I guess, for a lunch fare. So to add another $10 to that ticket, when you calculate, if they had a glass of wine or whatever they were doing, it's a lot of money. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know what other cities do about it. I would ask that maybe suspend it if we can for a while till we figure out what it is. The other problem, I believe, is the publication of, in the newspaper where 2,000 tickets have been given out. That's not inviting anybody to the city of Canton. I mean, to me, that's deterring. I wouldn't come down here if I knew I was gonna get a ticket. I'd go to the mall where I can eat all day or shop all day and park for free. I just think it's important, and not to wait on it, to do it sooner than later, because we put a lot of money into Canton. I love Canton. Don't get me wrong. I appreciate everything the city's done for me. You know, I'm late on my water bill every month, and they call me up and say, hey, it's due. I come down and pay. But, you know, I really appreciate being here. I don't want to, I can't afford it to be any harder than it has to be. You know, when we first came down here, there wasn't a lot going on, to be honest with you. In the last few years, we've seen it grow leaps and bounds, and we're happy to be here. I have a 4-restaurant, 5-year plan. We're 2 into it right now. If space allows, I'd like to open a couple more restaurants down here. It has to work though. You know, lunch and dinner, it's an important part of the business that we're doing. Again, I don't know what the answer is, but I ask that if we can, suspend it for now till we figure out what the answer is.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
I don't think there's anyone on this council that is not committed to doing whatever it takes to try to make shopping easier downtown, because we all know that downtown's a special place, and it takes a special effort to get people to come downtown. I mean, you know, it's so much easier to go out to a shopping mall. Like you say, you can park all day free and shop, eat, or whatever. But downtown, it's a special place, and you know, to get businesses to come in downtown, it takes a lot of extra effort, and so we have to resolve that problem some way or another. Now, the thing that keeps going in my mind is, you know, for years, I don't know how far back, we had 2-hour parking in town. It goes way back. All right. All of a sudden, Chief, you may have to help me here if you remember, we had, for maybe a 13-month period, we gave no tickets at all, with no enforcement at all. Was that, am I way off on that?
90 days. We did 90 days. We've issued 215 citations since.
No, I'm not talking about that time. I'm talking about before your time. I'm sorry, you probably didn't.
Yeah, it's a long time ago.
Before your time.
I'm with you now, track.
Okay, yeah, this was a period of time that, because of personnel or whatever, no tickets were actually given downtown. And then we just started back the 2-hour again. And is it the 2 hours or is it the extra money? I mean, I think the fines did go up, you know.
The volume of people that are coming downtown now, though, is a lot different than it was even 18 months ago.
Yeah, well, that's true. I think you're right about
I
that.
know there's more to do, so like our clients would like to go do the stuff while they come visit, but
Right. And we would like them to as well.
A lot of our business, especially new clients, are determined by social media and online reviews and things like that. I've noticed that that's probably a newer, you know, more of that, it'll carry more gravity now than it did the last time when we weren't doing 2-hour parking before. I'm sure that we have more reviews out there now than we did then. And I know I've had a couple people come to me and say that the reviews that they read about ticketing or parking in Canton was a deterrent for them. And I think that's, you know.
Well, you know, I don't honestly can't say that I got any complaints when we gave no tickets. Think about that, Doug.
You didn't talk to me personally, but there was a lot of complaining going on.
Because I knew where you were on that. I knew that you've been
Mr.
very outspoken and that we do need a limit there.
Well, I wish we didn't have to police it, but the problem is, if you don't police it and enforce it, then you got what I call squatters that are going to park in front of my store and their store and everybody else's, and they're not gonna move if there's no price to pay. And it's just very frustrating that people who have a presence downtown don't care enough about their neighbors
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
to free up parking. I wish there didn't have to be any enforcement, and employees would stay out of the way and people could come down and stay as long as they wanted to, and that's the ideal situation. And like I say, if we can get closer to that. And
You remember, Doug, when there was I don't know how long it lasted, the last one anyway, but there was an association for the merchants downtown. You know, if that were going again, and it might really catch on this time, I mean, and you know, if you had that going, they might be able to police themselves to some degree.
That's what I was thinking.
I don't know, but,
I can speak to
It's
that
sort
one
of-
a little bit.
What's that?
I can speak to that one a little bit because I was president of that association.
Yes, you were,
The
weren't you?
last go around.
Right.
And as Doug and I have had many conversations about this, and I've also had many conversations with Chief Lance when he was the chief about the 2-hour issue. Because like Doug was saying, I'm someone with a big storefront. I stood there and watched the 2-hour shuffle every day, where everybody emptied their offices, moved their cars, and run back inside. But they moved them 2 spaces, or 1 space. And so none of the customer parking was available. It was all taken up by people that worked in the offices. And it was very frustrating for us. And like these folks are finding out now, we had real problems trying to have events and had our diner, we had book clubs, we had various events with the 2-hour window. It was a very big problem from us, and we did speak to the police quite often about that. So I don't know, and trying to get the owners of the offices, the bosses, to care was very difficult. So I don't know what the solution is, but
It would seem like they're hurting themselves, though, wouldn't it?
Well, people that walk farther, if they got to the point with a lawyer, they'll walk farther than they will to shop with any of us. If they can't park close to us, they're not gonna stop. If they've got to meet with a lawyer, they'll walk 2 blocks if they have to. And the lawyers know that, so again, no incentive for them. Again, I'm painting with a broad brush. There's a lot of good lawyers here that do everything right. And please forgive me, because I see one of them sitting up there. But the point is, those that have that mindset, you know, they don't care how far their clients have to walk, apparently, and they don't care about any of the rest of us.
Okay. Mr. Goodman?
Yeah. Back when Gene and I first came in, we discussed this same problem. It's become more of a problem, and we've got a better solution, but we have a lot more going on downtown, as everybody's already spoken about. But one of the very first things we talked about when we came in was the lack of parking downtown, how much it was hurting back then, R&M Sandwich Shop and several of the other people, Keys, you know, lots of different places. And we looked at different pieces of property. We talked to the county. I talked to Jerry Cooper numerous times. There is some property that's back behind the apartments there, North Apartments, that is set aside for parking. And they were supposed to get into more of a conversation with us. We haven't, I don't think, had that conversation. Recently, we had the one about the fire. I think things are starting to move that way. I'd like to see this council and them get together and build a deck, because I think that's the only way. Rome's got 4 decks. I mean, they're much bigger than us, but they've got 4 decks. And it's the only way I see that'll ever work out, because the people that work in town can park in that deck and have it close, and then the people that come visit you guys can park on the street and be close to you. They will not park down here. Even when we have a trolley down here, they wouldn't park down here and ride it up. So it's not going to happen. The only way to ever solve this is to have a deck. And Gene and I talked about this before. I even said, you know, I'd hate to be a merchant down there and know that my guys are coming and can't even park. I said, you know, you could actually, instead of giving them a ticket, have the policeman give them a thing for 10% off at Keys Jewelry or 20% off here or whatever, you know, entice them to come down. But you got to have a place for them to park. And I'd like to see this council take that on as a great, you know, number one proposition here is try for the new year. As, you know,
A few months ago, we had a study done, which we paid dearly for, and it came back, and it told us that we didn't need any more parking, which totally shocked, I think, everybody. And but the one thing that we have not done is one of the very first things that they said we should do, and that is the city only controls approximately 30% of the parking in downtown. The other 70% is controlled by private. And they suggested that, like many cities do, they go out and negotiate with those private individuals who have parking space that could be made available, and come up with some type of, and I don't know what they are, but we can call other cities and find out, you know, just what do they have in their negotiation? Do they pay them a monthly fee, or do we reduce the taxes on that property, or what did y'all do to entice the private owners of those properties to allow regular parking there? And I just give an example is that the dance studio there, you usually don't see anybody in there until 4 o'clock or after. Not a lot of spaces, but there's got to be maybe a dozen spaces that could be used in the morning. But have we gone out and followed up on that recommendation from the study that we paid so dearly for to see if we can negotiate some use of those properties for parking, additional parking? And I would guess I will ask Mr. Cummings if he would do this and look into it. I don't know, Mr. Dyer, have you got any feelings towards that? You and your partners have some property next door. Would you be interested in leasing that property for parking?
Certainly consider it.
For enough money. Or maybe reduce the taxes on that piece of property.
How big a deal is it to change the ordinance from 2-hour to 4-hour parking?
Yeah, it'd take about 30 days.
Sorry, Joe, but I'm afraid if you suspend it, then I've got the same problem all over again.
Well, I was gonna suggest something else. I was gonna suggest that, and I'll be happy to do it. Police our own employees, take pictures of their cars, pass them out to the other business owners. If you see one of my employees' cars in your area, you let me know and we get it moved. But educate them on why it's important to not park there. Allow us to do it, or at least give us a chance, maybe a 30-day time frame. Well, okay, here's your opportunity to do this and see how it works out. I don't know that I can wait 30 days to, or even, you know, longer, to have a solution to this. I mean, people are literally stopped coming for lunch. It was like a switch. You know, again, I'd like the opportunity to try to spearhead that and with the other business owners and see if it makes a difference.
Gene, is there any way we could, I attended those studies on the parking study, and I'm not sure we lost any money on that. It was $30,000, but if someone comes back and tells you don't need to do anything, that's worth a lot too, if that's correct. But in those 344 spaces they said we had in excess, is there any way we could identify the people that work in the businesses and have reserved spots for the workers, so they have a spot 3 blocks from where they work, it's got their name on it for 8 to 6, whatever hours they need, and that's their spot. And if you park in one of those spots, you got a big problem with a fine. But I mean, at least you'd have all the people that work downtown have an identifiable spot 2 or 3 blocks away from Main Street, and then keep them all off the Main Street. Would that make any sense? I don't know.
I don't know how that would work. I certainly.
Well, you put their name,
paint
paint their name right on the street.
We're not going
put
to
a
resolve
sign.
this problem tonight. And I think what we need to do, and you want to kill something as a committee, but I think we do need to have some people look at it more intently. And Mr. Grant, you have a business downtown, so I'm sure, and I know you end up parking away from your business a lot, so. And Mr. Young also has one. I would like you to, if you could, kind of work together and, if you need anyone else or another council member, and work with these folks out here and hopefully come up with some recommendations that would help. Would you be willing to do that?
Yeah, I'm happy to do it. I mean, I do believe there is some urgency for some of the businesses that their businesses being impacted immediately, and I think we have developed a reputation very quickly of not being customer friendly and I've seen it online, and we've heard it, you know, from other people, especially surrounding cities who,
Right.
we don't
Well,
want to.
well, let me ask this question.
That concerns me, like, what do we do in the interim?
Does council want to entertain delaying enforcement again for a period of time until it's worked out?
The question I would have would be, to Doug, is that you pushed hard for the limits on the time,
Yes, sir.
and it's helped you, so if we did delay this for a period of time, how would you feel about it, and the fact that we're going back the way we were?
If we could delay it to help these other folks, I'm gonna survive. This is impacting them much worse than the other impacted me, I believe. Like I say, if we could get it changed to 4 hours, I think most everybody would be tickled pink as far as business owners. And I've already confessed, I was ignorant of people who needed more time than my clients did. And you know.
What about Joseph? What do you think if we went back to temporarily do not enforce it? That would be
That's what he's
bad.
asking
That's
for.
what he asked.
Yeah, I'd love that.
Yeah.
And it'd give us a chance to maybe
Can I sick
come up
you on the
with a
people
solution
from
on our
downtown
own.
that's parked in front of my place?
What's that?
Can I sick you on the people?
Yeah, please do. I have no problem asking somebody to move if they're not supposed to be there.
Yeah, the voucher system,
Like if they do get ticketed, they'll be excused from it if they're with our business or whatever, but I don't know.
the voucher system could work in place of suspension, so then you still keep the downtown employees off the street.
Mr. Rank?
I think there's actually, something to be said for that if, I don't know if what the chief would think about that, or if that could be handled, but that could be a solution for where customers are protected. I mean, as long as that was communicated to them, that they could get validated.
That worked out just as quick as the other one did.
But that would be, you know, possible if there were, you know, consumer validation for people coming down to shop or dine. I mean, I think one of the problems with the 2-hour windows, as we've experienced, is that one size doesn't fit all in some of these businesses. And especially now that we have multiple businesses that interact together, which we haven't had before, and we are getting a reputation of being a destination, which is great. But now we're getting a reputation of being, you know, you could come here and go to multiple businesses, you're gonna get a ticket, so.
Mr. Mayor, we could make a quick change that would be in the right direction and then send it to committee, but we could immediately, I think tonight, to do it, go to 3 hours.
You wouldn't have signs up.
Well, communicating that to guests is gonna be very difficult to do.
Hard to do that real quick. Yeah, change all the 2-hour signs, that would take a while.
How many we got?
It'd be a bunch of them, I guess. Mr. Russ?
Since the word's gotten out there so quickly about we're a bad place to come because you're gonna get a ticket, I think the only way you're gonna change that is to lift it. I think changing it to 3 hours or 4 hours is just more confusion. They say, I'm not gonna bother. You know what I mean? I think the biggest thing is trying to police and educate the employees of the businesses that they can't park on the street.
It's not a lack of education for the downtown employees that have been here for a length of time. It's a choice of will. I've talked to some of them personally, and they changed for a week, and then next week they're right back. And that's why I was for the enforcement. Like I said, I wish we didn't have to enforce it at all, because then it's good for everybody. When folks don't care about their neighbor's ability to do business, over them walking 3 steps instead of 2 blocks, there's not anything you can do for folks like that other than fine them.
Too bad we can't have selective enforcement.
Well, that's why I asked about the 2 and 4 hour thing. If they could identify the car as a downtown employee, they only have 2 hours and clients could have 4. That's why I asked that question about whether the ticket identified the owner.
How about if they had a sticker or something in their window or something that would
Well,
identify them?
you're gonna have to make them put a sticker on, otherwise they're gonna play dumb and I didn't have a sticker and I don't have to.
Then they get a ticket. They put a sticker on eventually if they need it.
Yeah, one other comment, we're gonna have to move along
Yeah, I was
here,
gonna say,
because we, this as long as
the
we
thing
understand on a non-agenda item.
The thing I'm noticing the most in this is that we're all on the understanding that we do want clients here, no matter how long they're gonna be. It's the employees and the owners that we really, so agree with you guys. I think going in that direction, figuring something out for what we can do about where to put the employees, that some of them need to be appeased, and while the rest of us just really want to give and give back to our clients and get out of the way of them.
Billy?
Yes, sir, I'd like to make a comment right quick.
Sure.
Most of you know me, I'm Bill Canton, Mid City Pharmacy. This is our 50th year in business, but I've been there since 1987. I've gone through all this mess with parking. Number one, you need to talk to the business owners. I do not allow my family, my employees, or anybody to park in front of anybody's store. If they come to town and say, you park somewhere else. So you need the business owners. And I tell my employees that I don't pay your salary, the customers do. And if that door don't open and close, you ain't got no money. So, I support it, Doug supports it. We tell our employees to do not park. And I think everybody ought to do that, because that's the biggest problem, you see. And I'm thankful I'm proud we have Big City Farms, and our customers that can't walk, I say, pull up back there and call us on the cell phone, we'll come out and get it. And we do that.
What do you think the solution
So,
is? What do you think the solution is? Or is there not a problem right now?
it is a problem of the people that work in town parking on the street, that's always been a problem.
Not your employees, though.
Oh, my employees?
No.
They park up way up the street. We don't park in front of anybody's business. I tell Doug sometimes, hey Doug, I gotta unload, I'll be there 5 minutes, but then I'm gonna be gone. I'll pull up and unload. I mean, that's the problem.
It's courtesy.
Yeah, and, we have a lot of people that are older people, my customers are older people, and a lot of them can't walk, and I tell them, they pull up in front of the store and call us on your phone, we take it out to them. Of course, we offer delivery service, but still, I think us as store owners should put a damper on that about our, I don't allow mine to. And I even tell my wife and my children, I said, don't y'all park in front of everybody's business. When you come to town, but I have to tell you, this fellow told me one time, he said, I'd trade you if I could find a place to park. I said, sir, I appreciate that, but you know, the city parking lot is closer than you park at Walmart when you go trade, but you know, they look downtown, it's different. They don't want, and you know, we operated our store when Canton had everything downtown. And we had a lot of traffic, but people then didn't mind walking as much as, you know, now we're kind of, but I'm glad I'm downtown. I won't stay downtown in my business. We've been here 50 years and I hope to be here more. I'm gonna retire one day. I did the 65, I did the 75, but thank you.
Thank you.
But really, seriously, I think the problem is, one of the big problems is people that work in town not leaving their cars.
Okay, we gotta think about someday that Jones building's gonna be sold, and that can represent a whole different set of roads.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, it's a good problem to have, you know.
Right.
But I think unless there's a decision to do something tonight, then I would like for Mr. Grant and Mr. Yon to get together if they could. You know, if we need to do something in a hurry that would benefit the merchants downtown, you know, we'll call a special meeting to take care of it. If we need to do that.
Can you suspend it tonight?
Well, we could. I mean, technically that violates our policy of taking action. I don't know if we can or not, it wasn't on the agenda actually, but, so.
I mean, that would hurt me in the short run, but in the long run, I think it would do more people more good.
Actually, I don't think it would be appropriate to take action actually tonight.
Okay.
But I'd rather do a special call meeting, that way the public is made aware of what the discussion is, and anybody that has any interest in it can come and voice their opinion at that time.
I wonder if it would be possible to ask the police to maybe issue the first ticket's always a warning, and then that would catch more of the people that are really the problem And I don't know.
I think, they did a lot of that, though.
They
back
did a
when
lot
did
of
one,
that,
and some of these
but-
people got stacks of them,
And that, to see if you come back and you're still there, then you get the ticket, after the 4 hours. As a short-term interim thing.
That might be, Mr. Russ.
You gotta remember, today is December 4th, so you got 21 days till Christmas, so if we don't take action, some of these merchants are gonna lose business during the Christmas season.
Tomorrow, we have cut color people that are gonna be there for over 2 hours.
I would love to see us suspend it for 60 days, and we'll take action on it in 60 days, but we'll suspend it right now.
Well,
If Doug Key wants it, Doug Key is the most vocal person that gets.
I'm the most vocal, you got that right.
In favor of it, and he says it'll hurt him, but he wants to do it for the rest of the people downtown, so I say we do it.
If the council wants to
Let's do it
indicate
right
to the
now.
police department to suspend it, then as far as I'm concerned, you can do that, but I prefer that we not cast a vote because of the fact that it was not on our agenda.
But how are we gonna instruct the police chief not to issue tickets anymore?
Does anybody have any problem with that?
Because not.
Does anybody have any problem with it?
No.
Sounds to me like nobody's got a problem there, so I think the chief can proceed to do what he needs to do. I mean, if he doesn't want to do it, I still don't think we ought to be voting. I just don't think that's the right thing to do, particularly since it wasn't on the
Well,
agenda.
it's December 4th, that's the only reason why. I mean, if it wasn't December 4th, I'd say you can wait, but you can't wait. We don't need to be a city that loses customers downtown. We work too hard to get them.
We could have a
We can't
call
drive them
meeting
away.
on Monday to do that.
Let's just have a head nod now and have a vote on Monday. Let's go. So there's not gonna be any tickets written over the weekend.
I'd still like to.
We got
these
two
to work-
parties.
be
We
working on
got
it.
First Friday tomorrow. We got the parade on Saturday. You wanna give tickets out for that too?
They're not gonna give the tickets out on Saturday anyway. And first Friday, they won't be giving tickets out at that hour.
I think we can wait till Monday, I mean,
Yeah,
that's fine.
if you can make it happen Monday, I think.
I think we can do that and do that legally and appropriately with adequate public notice.
Normally, I wouldn't, be urging to go forward so quickly on this, but this does affect the quality of life. It affects the quality of life of our merchants, our business owners, and our customers. So I'm okay with moving quickly on it.
Good.
Thank you very much.
Monday's really quite quick, I gotta tell you.
If they can get done Monday, I'll be flabbergasted.
Okay.
Very, very pleased.
Maybe the chief should just think twice about issuing tickets for the next 3 days, and then we'll vote.
Well, really, it's only one day.
Well,
Well,
it'll be a great time to tell them
Monday.
how to, since first
Friday,
Friday,
beyond Monday,
Saturday,
yeah.
be here, it'll be a prime opportunity to be able to let the public know as well.
But 60 days from now, we gotta have a solution that's better than this. in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay, we need to move along now, get started on our agenda.
Thank y'all very much.
Thank you. Very good points there, we appreciate your input.
Thank you.
He's gonna have a parking ticket the other day.
Okay, under old business, city goal updates, city master plan, is there any report?
I think the supplemental grant's been submitted. I don't think we're not supposed to hear anything back from January, until January, I think, Mr. Patton.
That's correct.
We're just holding with our breath until then, so fingers crossed.
All right. Economic development, let me say this, of course, today was a good day, Aldi's opened, had a ribbon cutting at Aldi's on Riverstone there. It was amazing, there were people, there must have been at least 100 in line when it opened up, and then 20 minutes later, the line was much longer than it was when they were waiting out there before it even opened up. I mean, it was quite amazing, I think, that people had gotten there early and got in line to shop there. But anyway, we're glad we have them there. It seems like there are more and more ribbon cuttings in the city than, I've gone to quite a few of them. Some of them are chamber handles, some of them the chamber doesn't handle, like the Aldi that's all this morning, the chamber did not handle that, they handled it themselves. But, you know, we had another business downtown, a little dress shop, just had a ribbon cutting there. They've been in business there for a while, Rosie Posey, I believe it is. That's close, somewhere like close to y'all there. And we also had a groundbreaking for a Provident Assisted Living Center up there on Highway 140 and Riverstone Parkway. Riverstone Parkway, Reinhardt College Parkway, yeah. And, I mean, that's gonna be a large assisted living center there, and a very nice one from what I understand. So, I mean, there's just something all the time going on, which is a good situation. It's also indicative of the fact that we do need to do something about parking too downtown, because a lot of things that's going on downtown are increasing that. Do you have anything else you want to add on that? Economic development or anyone?
Yeah, me.
You?
Yeah, well, don't let the chamber have the two Dunkin' Donuts openings when they come up.
Hey,
That one looks like it's getting ready to open.
Yeah, it's looking good, good looking building.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What an improvement for that spot.
Yeah.
Isn't that great? There'd be another one too.
Absolutely. How about park management? You have anything new on park management?
No, I had another meeting with Brian Reynolds of the county, Parks and Rec. And for those who are interested in his job description, he was kind enough to forward that to me, that we can easily modify to fit what our needs may be. The one that we have is probably a little bit more than what we would be looking for at this time, but that's could be handled quite easily. The only thing I wanted to do, if the council would tune in and let me know, whether to do a soft opening on the park itself. Right now the gates are closed. I've been down there. I went over there to look at the bridge myself and took my grandsons with me. And there were 3 ladies over there with their kids playing in the park, just having a ball. And they just loved it. And apparently they came across the bridge from across the way there to get in, and I didn't have a problem with that. But should we have a soft opening and open those gates and let the city start coming in? If the kids want to do a pickup game down there on that field, I don't think that's going to hurt that. If we had organized sports, that would hurt the turf. But if you got, you know, a half dozen kids down there playing an hour worth of whatever it may be, I don't think it's going to be a problem. So I would like to say, let's try to have a soft opening, open the gates at the same time like what we do with the fishing launch, and close it at the same time, and let people just start finding their way in, and then we'll move forward. But that's just my recommendations. If anybody in the council has some other opinion or thoughts, I would like to hear it.
That's right.
Do we have any, on the sod, is there any, on that guarantee or any preconditions on that, as far as, are we responsible if we letting people in there, or on it, what are our responsibilities toward that?
We have really no responsibilities. They are taking over the maintenance of that. I think they would not like to see us put, they haven't said so, but I think they would not like to see us put regular team sports down there practicing or playing regular schedules where goals are established, the goals at the end. That's where you get your wear spots. If you just have an open field down there and people put a cup down here and a cup down there and that's out of bounds, they go down there and play, I don't think you're going to have a problem there. Other than that, no, I don't think we'll have a problem out there.
Mr. Russ?
I think you've got to go to the people that maintain the park for us and make sure they're in agreement that that's a good thing to do, Bucky. I don't think we want to let, if it's good for 25, it's good for 250.
No, that's the part that's not true.
Well, I mean, but if you're going to open the park up, you're going to have maybe 250 show up. What are you going to say? Well, that's too many. You got to cut down.
You're not following me. I've had quite a few conversations with Mark over there and with Joby, who's I think in the house tonight. If you have set goals where we they put out the soccer goals or the lacrosse goals at the end, and they're anchored down, because they need to be anchored. Then you're gonna get wear spots, and that would harm this side. But if we don't put those goals out there, what the kids are gonna do, we all probably did growing up, you're gonna put a couple of cups or a stick or something like that, and that's gonna be the goal of the out of bounds. And if you got 20 kids running around there, it's not gonna hurt that turf. If you got 250, yeah, you got a problem. But just a pickup game, we're not gonna bring in or schedule in team sports. That's the difference. Once you schedule team sports, they're gonna want the goals up.
You know, we did have team sports down at Heritage Park when it was not scheduled or anything, you know, I mean, they showed up in uniforms down there, and I mean, they were teams. And I don't know, I mean, how do you selectively say, you know, like was asked, how many people show up, you know, if you have to run them off, or who enforces it, or how would you do that?
Well, that's a good question. That's a fair question. I would just have to say is team sports are not open. It's not open for team play. If kids want to go down there and throw a frisbee, throw the football, or run around like that, I just don't see the problem. But I understand your position there, Mr. Mayor, about it.
Yeah, that is right, we did have a problem with that. But the other thing I was wondering about was playground equipment, because lots of people use this park for a while, but now we've seen them not have swings out there. I don't know where they've gone, but then, you know, we just now finishing the construction. And that's gonna have ADA, all type of playground equipment up there, so I think that would be great to open that as well as the football, you know, that kind of stuff.
I think that's where it's gonna be used the most, quite frankly, is that playground. I mean, those ladies and kids, they just thought this was the greatest thing. My grandsons went out there and played and said, we don't have a park like this, with this type of equipment.
The other thing I'd like to say is that I'd like for us to set a date when we are gonna open it, and have a grand opening, you know, with a music, the whole 9 yards. Just, let's, you know, do it really first class.
I like the idea, and we've talked about it, and there's a group that seem to think they'd like to see it green up in the spring and do it then. I don't have a problem one way or the other than the fact if you have a big opening and the grass is brown and the turf is not quite ready, it might just be premature.
That's fine in the spring.
You know, it's always hard to back up on things, even though we have a tendency to do that from time to time, but there's the possibility that, you know, we could have a soft opening and just kind of keep an eye on it. If it begins to look like damage is being done, shut it down again. I mean, just close it down. I don't know how hard that would be to, you know, after you got some people used to coming and then all of a sudden you close it back, but, Mr. Grant?
I'd be fine with it. I mean, I think the reality is that people are already finding their way in there, and I think when they do, they're impressed, and I've seen it on Facebook and people talking about it. So, but I'd be fine if we could get the maintenance company or whoever to sign off saying it was okay, and that we wouldn't be held liable for it, or even if there's something we could do is just post signs saying stay off the grass or something, just something we could do to cover ourselves if we did that. I'm just be concerned about what we'd be exposing ourselves to, because I know that side
Put
of the
signs up there, no team sports. I think they'll understand.
But I think we could ask them what they would require to not hold us accountable for that. But
If you do that and then report back to us on the 18th, we'll, or before, we're gonna have a special meeting on Monday, you know, anyway. So, it's like,
Oh, that's right.
so you might have some more information by then, and we could talk about that. Okay, the next item is Great Sky Streets, Ms. McGrew.
In the past, we acknowledged that the Great Sky Streets, Woody Mountain Trail, Morning Breeze Lane, Mountain Laurel Walk, and River Birch would be public and not private. And I think that the council needs to take a public vote and accept these as city streets as part of our maintenance program.
So you're asking that be on our
I am asking
18th
that that be
agenda?
on our agenda,
For the 18th?
correct?
Okay.
And that we do a public vote. And I know that somebody mentioned we could accomplish the same thing with a letter to the developer, but I think a public vote would be a better show of our confidence.
It's always better if it's more transparent and open
Right,
up.
I agree. So that's what I wanted to say about that. And do we need any other discussion about it?
Anybody have any comments about that? I mean,
Aren't they on the
basically
public?
what she's asking is that be on the agenda to recognize formally that the streets in Great Sky are indeed city streets and will be maintained and so as we can do it.
I thought we already did that.
We voted that they weren't private. So this is really taking the unstated step that we didn't state.
Okay.
What would be the, what state would they be in if they weren't private? They'd have to be public.
Well, that's
Is
what I'm
there-
saying, it's
is there
sort of,
another option?
it was sort of unstated, I think she.
I think this is a little bit different if they're, in that this is saying that they're open to the public. They're not only open to the public, but they are owned by the city, owned by the public. Okay?
Basically what it is that there was a dedication of these streets. The next formal step is we accept them. That vote you took earlier didn't actually accept
Oh,
them.
okay, I thought we, okay.
It just said they weren't private.
Okay, so that'll be on the agenda for the 18th. Okay, under new business, the first reading, a request for beer and wine alcohol license by Aldi Inc., 553 Riverstone Parkway, manager Thomas Rentz. You have that as an attachment there. So this will be the first reading, and we will vote on that to issue the license at that new location on the 18th of December. Item B, discussion and review potential part-time solicitors, services to be used as needed. Acting City Manager Ingram.
You have in your attachment a list of solicitors that we would like to have available to use as needed in the municipal court. We're going to ask at the meeting on the 18th that these be approved for use immediately.
I had one question there. One of the individuals works in the DeKalb District Attorney's Office in Decatur. Is that? Okay. So would they just be here on days off, or how does that work?
I'm assuming this list would just be those that could be called upon. For example, that individual may not be called upon, or it's just one of in a list that could be called upon if needed. So.
Okay. So if they're available, they can be called on.
Correct.
And come, okay. Anyone have any questions on that? Okay. Discussion of resolution to adopt the annual update to the capital improvements plan and 5-year short-term work plan for an impact fee program. Mr. Ingram?
I'll ask Mr. Patton if he has anything to add on the adoption of 5-year CIE. Any comments?
Mr. Mayor, council members, this is the last step of the required process. Within the attachments, you do have the letter from ARC and DCA that we are in compliance with the requirements. City Council has to adopt, and that resolution will be submitted so that we maintain qualified government status.
Okay, that will be on the 18th agenda for a vote. Item D, update on November 21st Fire Services Committee meeting. Mr. Grant?
Fire Service Committee met on Friday, November 21st, to follow up on our joint meeting with the county, where we discussed the general terms of a memo of understanding regarding Northwest Canton Fire Station that would possibly have Canton build and maintain ownership, in Cherokee County to operate the station under an intergovernmental agreement. At the meeting, we determined some additional questions that need to be asked of the county to better understand the potential cost savings to the city under that scenario. After the meeting, we proceeded to ask County Manager Jerry Cooper the following questions, and I wanted to share his responses accordingly. Question 1, concerning phone and IT. The question was, if county operates the station, will they provide all phone, computer, and related equipment and installation? The answer was yes, the county would provide handsets, phones, computers, etc. They would assume that the station will have the infrastructure installed from the street to the building and inside the building, Cat 6 or 7 wiring inside the building into the IT closet, etc. Question 2 was concerning ambulance. If the county operates, where will the dedicated ambulance be located, housed at the station in the second bay? Question. Yes, the squad currently stationed at Station 9 will be reassigned to the Laurel Canyon Station, and the ambulance squad will need to be parked inside a bay there. Question 3 concerned routine maintenance of the building and the grounds. The question was, if county operates, will they maintain the building doing the routine maintenance and the grounds, or expect the city to cover this? The answer was yes, the county would provide preventative and routine maintenance of the building and the grounds. Mr. Ingram had informed us in the meeting that the operational costs annually for maintenance of the buildings and grounds, including utilities and supplies, approximately $150,000 to $175,000 annually. So, question 4 was, if the county operates the station, will the city be absolved from all obligations except for insuring the building upon occupancy? The question was yes, we would operate as if the station was county property. And question 5 was, can you think of other specific operational cost savings to the city if the county operates other than those that have been provided, that have been discussed? The answer was, the city would assign any additional personnel hired in the future to other stations inside the city, thus eliminating obligations to the staff in the Laurel Canyon Station. The county would also provide all equipment, air breathing apparatus, tools, etc., and apparatus, squad, and engine. And the city would not need to assign equipment apparatus to the station or purchase additional equipment and apparatus. I had one additional question and thought right before this meeting about the furnishings, and I called Mr. Cooper to ask him about if they operated the station, would they furnish it, all the furniture and furnishings, and he said that they would, since they would be using them and these weren't really permanent items, and if they abandoned the station and we took it back over, that they'd take the furniture with them. So I think we had budgeted $40,000 to $45,000 in there for the furnishings of the station. So, so that was really the questions, and I think we decided at the meeting it didn't really matter to us what the cost to the county were operating the station, because our concerns were the cost savings to the city. So. Also at the meeting, other discussions included the automatic aid agreement. The committee and other council members in attendance discussed the terms for a mutually acceptable automatic aid agreement in the memo of understanding, and everyone agreed it should not be a point of negotiation since the city and county are currently operating with this agreement understanding in place. It's just not a formalized agreement. The committee asked Chief Floyd to review Woodstock's automatic aid agreement with the county and to draft a similar one for Canton to present to the county for approval as soon as possible. Chief Floyd stated today that he is forwarding a draft agreement to the city manager and the Fire Services Committee for review next week. Also in the meeting, we discussed briefly Councilman Huffman's draft memo of understanding. At the end of the last council meeting, Councilman Huffman distributed an alternate document that he had compiled with Chief Floyd and the city manager for consideration. Mr. Huffman attended the Fire Service Committee and asked if his version was going to be discussed. Chairman of the committee now responded that it was not on the agenda since it was only presented the night before, and our intent of the meeting was to review the memo of understanding that was discussed mutually with the county. And it was and remains my opinion that the alternate versions of an agreement produced without the full input of council and with no input from the county are counterproductive in these negotiations and only serve to delay, stall, and the progress on this decision. So, and while I'm sure each of us could write our own version of a memo of understanding about how best to collaborate with the county, provide the highest possible fire emergency medical services at the lowest possible cost to the city taxpayers at the Laurel Canyon Station, I think it seems somewhat pointless. In my opinion, the city, county, firefighters, and most importantly, our citizens need a definitive answer as to who will operate this station, scheduled to be completed by the middle of next year. So therefore, it's my recommendation that we take an up or down vote at our December 18th meeting to have the Fire Service Committee to work with the county to develop an intergovernmental agreement consistent with a memorandum of understanding for presentation to the full council for approval. This decision would accomplish our original goal of the meeting with the county of deciding whether or not to pursue the option with the county or deciding the option was not viable for the city. So just up or down vote, if we're going to pursue it, if we are going to pursue it, have the Fire Service Committee work out, final memorandum of understanding for the council to approve or not. If we're not, then we stop talking and get on with it. So
Okay.
that's my report.
Anyone else? The next item on the agenda is, the amended agenda was the street department lease of the Canton textile mill property, which Mr. Dyer has, I guess you prepared it. Okay.
It's been approved by the attorney for the Canton textile mill, so this is the final version.
Oh, okay. You're certainly welcome to review that at your time in between now and the 18th, at which time we'll vote to approve that. It seems cheap enough to me, so good location too. Next item, Ms. Hudson, you'd asked Chief Mitchell to comment on the body cameras.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just with all the stuff going on in the national media, I just thought it might be a good idea. I called the chief this morning and just to find out where we stood. And I was very pleased to find out we look pretty good right now, but I'll let Chief Mitchell come up and explain where the city of Canton and how forward thinking they have been.
Mayor, Councilman Huffman said he called me this afternoon and asked me to some ideas about where we were with our body cameras, just because of everything that's going on in law enforcement world today. We're having to do it in increments. Each body cam unit, we're buying the taser version of the body cams. They're around $900 a piece. They're not cheap, but they're well worth the purchase. We purchased 3 last year. Our traffic motor guys have those, and our parking enforcement officer has one as well. This year we're budgeted for 4 additional units. We've already seen, and actually Officer Cavalli is our evidence custodian and our administrator of the TASER program at the department. He can vouch for me when officer complaints. We have been able to clear 3 or 4 officer complaints based off body cams and cameras, and how quickly you can say that when you have a complaint call, you go right to it, you can pull the TASER and you can look at it, validate the complaint, handle the issue quickly, or the complaint is unfounded because nothing occurred. I think with that right there, that could increase citizen trust in us because they know we're checking our cameras. Our officers do have our wearing, or we're going to be in the process of wearing body cameras, where it not only can correct behavior in the officer, more professional officer, because the officer's wearing a camera, but also citizen behavior, and it collects evidence on the scene. You're instantaneously collecting evidence when the officer steps out of the car. Unfortunately, our officers in the world today are e-sports citizens. It's unfortunate that we encounter. It's instantly captured there as well. So many benefits to the body cams. We've seen the benefits just in the short time that we're using it, and we're going to continue forward. And our goal would be to fully implement them as we each year as we put them in small increments.
One of my concerns was the effect it might have on the officers themselves. Does it look like Big Brother's watching over his shoulder, and does that maybe hinder him in some of the decisions he might make or might not make.
Well, as in anything, people are resistant to change, and a lot of officers see it as a benefit, and some officers see it as, oh, Big Brother's watching. But we as a command staff, and I want to stress to them that this is a benefit that can help you and help the citizens. And think of it, take the approach as, we've had video cameras in our cars for years, and everything's captured on our videos, each traffic operates. It's that this is just a more a specific or the car camera doesn't catch everything if I go into a building, but my body cam is going to catch everything. And we want to instill in our officers, A, I'm going to act professional regardless, and B, whatever I have to react to, where I'm going to capture evidence, and it can only be a plus and a win-win for the officer and the community. And that's our thinking, our approach, and that's what our hope is to, as we evolve into this, our officers are also will see that, so and the community will as well. Yes, sir.
How many cameras do we have right now?
Just 3. We're in the process, probably within the next 30 days of purchasing 4 more.
So how many do you need?
20, 25 on patrol.
I stopped to talk to Lieutenant Tucker a week ago or so, and he was walking with one of the ticket writers who had one of those cams on. Is it really that bad? I mean, that was, I know what was going on that day.
And I remember one of our parking officers, he was accosted.
I know that.
So it was a benefit, okay?
Well, I know why he had it, but it seems unfortunate that one of those valuable cameras is used for a ticket writer, as opposed to somewhere else where it could.
Well, you use it also for evidentiary, as far as.
No, I know that. I know exactly what you're doing, but it would seem that priority shouldn't be at the ticket writer level. You know what I'm saying? If you only got 4 cameras or 3 right now. But that's your decision. It's unfortunate that happened. Maybe beginning Monday, we won't need that. I mean, these guys are going to be looking for something to do, but put the camera where it's better utilized, I would hope.
Well, again, council, if they choose to do that, then obviously we reallocate that. Obviously have to reallocate our
At this rate, though, it's going to take you 3 or 4 years before
Yes,
you're going to be all fully implemented.
Because you're looking at.
You need $900 per.
It's $900 per unit, plus you also have to, we buy the memory, which goes to the cloud, called evidence.com, and everything's stored in the cloud instead of having to have a dedicated server, because it's a lot of, I'm not a computer guru, but this is a lot of space, a lot of video on a server, so we pay for the gigs of memory that we buy. If I'm not talking out of place here, he's the guru that keeps up with it, but it goes to the cloud, and that's how we get our evidence, and he downloads it every day.
It seems like after body armor, there should be like a high priority item to buy. Don't you think?
Very
Yeah.
much so. Yes, sir.
I mean, with what's going on around the country, I mean, every day.
Are we loading an officer down? I mean, how much does your belt weigh with all the stuff you got on it, and then your
28 pounds.
28 pounds, and you got
That's the best.
the vest?
That camera's really light, it's just teeny.
I mean, it's just,
That's a lot of gear.
got a lot of different buttons and things.
Use it, our guys use it every day. Every day, use all the gear.
I get amazed every day at what the good work they do.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief. Appreciate it. Okay, Ms. McGrew, Gospel Festival.
Yes, 2015 will be the 5th annual Gospel Festival that Mrs. Pat Tanner began 5 years ago. And she informed me at one of the, what is the name of it? Commission of Canton's Future. I've been going to some of their meetings on culture. She informed me that the city started out supporting the Gospel Festival. So I would like to propose that because we have forgiven sign fees and stage fees and all that, the city really show up for some of these cultural and civic events like Mr. Goodwin has brought forth to us. And let's support the Gospel Fest again. Let's encourage people to come to our city. Let's encourage people to participate in the Gospel Festival. I've been 3 years. I wouldn't miss it. It is so much fun. So I would like to propose, and I haven't talked to Mr. Ingram to see how much money we have in our cookie jar, but just as a beginning figure, I'd like to propose that City of Canton give $500 to Gospel Festival in help with their signage, their printing of their programs, and they burn CDs from their live performance so that shut-ins can have a copy of the performance and people can buy a copy of the CD for gifts and for remembrances. So 500 is my starting figure.
No, they do charge, they charge admission,
They have not charged admission,
but
but
they do sell the CDs,
they sell the CDs.
and that money goes,
That money goes back into the festival coffers to, for their advertisements, their printing, and the burning of the CDs.
you weren't saying that the city supported them financially before.
The city supported them with some donations in the first year or two.
I don't think that happened. No, they didn't give money.
You
No.
didn't give money. How did the
Moral
city?
support.
Moral support.
Yeah.
Well, we've got lots of morals.
Lots of that, not much of the other stuff. you know.
Okay.
But that's what happened originally.
I know the city of Waleska gave the Arts Center $250 for our arts ball this fall. So that was very, very nice of the city to support an arts center that's countywide, but not in their city. So I was hoping that the city of Canton could donate some money to the Gospel Festival.
Well, that will need to be decided on the 18th.
Okay, well, I need to know how much is in our cookie jar. You know, is that...
100,000, that'd be worth it.
What is a reasonable donation to an organization doing this that's going to encourage people to come from out of town into our town?
That's a good question. I don't know whether we've actually made monetary donations to private organizations like that. You know what I'm saying? Not just like that, but like others as well.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
tourism would be a really good group to approach.
Which can get the money. Really can.
Yeah, they might, yeah, that would make more sense there. Okay.
I'll see you in the skull.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Very appreciate that. You have anything on the city manager report?
No, Mayor, thank you.
Oh, okay. The next time I want to mention that I will, it's my intention to make some nominations for the Canton Improvement District. Canton Marketplace CID, will be nominating for a vote at the next meeting, Mr. Dennis Burdette, as a citizen member. The city has a citizen member nominated by the mayor, approved by the council, and a council member, and I would nominate Bill Grant to that. Mr. Rust, go ahead.
Gene, could you split, when we do that vote in 2 weeks, could we split the vote? So we vote for Dennis separate from Bill, because otherwise Bill wouldn't be able to vote for a package with
Right,
him
yes.
and Dennis.
They will be voted on separately.
Thank you.
Right. Also, as an mayoral appointment to the Vision for Canton 2050 Commission, I have asked, and he has accepted Charles Barnes. He lives in Soleil. He's rounded out my appointments. Because I had, Ferris was an appointment, and of course he got elected, so he came off, and John Toler had stepped down, so I have now a full complement of the three. The other item I would nominate for December the 18th vote is Ms. Ann Fincher to the Canton Tree Commission. She was recommended by some of the members of the Tree Commission, and she has agreed to participate in that. And she'll be a great member too as well. Also want to remind everyone of the art ramble this weekend, December 6th and 7th, 10 to 6 or whatever the hours are, but there's some brochures in the back with maps if you have any interest in looking at that. It's an opportunity to go around to all the local artists as well as artists from Cobb County up to Blue Ridge, I think, you know, to visit their studios and see what they do and maybe do some Christmas shopping. Another item I wanted to mention, something that we need to bring up and discuss and at some point, and not tonight. We're not going to get off on this tonight, okay? I mean, we've talked a long time about other things, but Laurel Canyon only has one entrance. Okay. Back when that development was, and it concerns me about that one entrance, because when the plans were approved, site plan was approved for that, there was showing a second entrance, which never evolved, and really didn't have to evolve, as I understand it. According to our ordinance, we had an ordinance in effect at the time that once you exceed 199 homes, there's supposed to be a second entrance. Well, my understanding is that we exceeded 199 in 2007. Okay? And they still only have one entrance. So that's an issue we're going to need to be talking about here in order to make sure. I think they're trying to work something out with you've heard a little bit about the new section and maybe moving the gates and taking in a little different area for the Soleil area. But we need to stay on top of this and make sure that we end up with a second entrance there. It's not just a convenience because of a steep hill that goes up in the wintertime there going into Laurel Canyon. It's also a safety factor too. You know, you could end up getting that one entrance blocks for some reason and need an ambulance back there and couldn't get in and they couldn't get out. So, but anyway, I really want to give some thought about that between now and the next meeting. And I'm not saying we're going to vote on anything one way or the other, but it's an issue that we're going to have to be dealing with. Another item I would like for us to give some thought to is this possibility of refunding, or giving back the water and sewer deposits to homeowners that have an extended period, whatever it may be, 2 years or whatever, of good payment history. We have about $500,000 roughly in deposits, okay? And if you move to the city of Canton and you put up your $100 for your meter and get your water turned on, if you don't move from Canton, you've given that money to the city. I mean, you never get it back. You gotta leave, move, or something in order, and move out of the city, actually. You'd have to move out of the city in order to ever recover your money. And it just seems to me that if you have a homeowner who has a good payment history for a couple of years or something, well, I'm not sure what it might be, but it ought to be given back to them at that point. Now, renters are a little bit different animal there, because, you know, you don't have, if a homeowner doesn't pay his water bill and tries to skip out on you, well, you've got that property, you can put a lien on his property. You can't with rentals. So that needs to be segregated or separated out a little bit. But for us to hold $500,000, and I don't know whether we've got it in interest-bearing account or what, but my opinion has been that if we gain interest on somebody else's money, that interest should belong to them. But I'm not going to get into that just yet. That's for another day, I think. But I do feel like it would be a good gesture, to say the least, to refund back, to give a deposit back to someone who has been a good citizen and a good customer of our water department for a period of time and had a good payment history. Just something to think about.
Gene, I just had one other comment.
Sure.
Because of that email that we all got regarding that one individual who moved away, I think what's complicated is he came back, or at one point was a renter. But somebody should get credit when they come back like that for their good payment history before they move. If they were a good payer all the time, why are we taking that money? I mean, really?
That's a good point, and there's a lot of details that need to be worked out in that, but it just seemed to me that's something we ought to take a look at. And one other, another item here is that the reminder that the dates for our January meetings, since the first Thursday is January 1st, we will not meet. We'll meet on the 8th. We're actually going to meet on the 2nd and 4th Thursdays in January, which will be the 8th and the 22nd. There's 5 Thursdays in January, so the 2nd, 4th. Let's see if there's anything else. One other item, the call meeting for Monday. Well, I'll go ahead, I'm going to call that meeting now, but I'd like some input as to the time. Do we want to have it at 6, or we want to meet mid-afternoon? But we need to go ahead and let our city clerk make sure the meeting's notified and advertised and whatever else we have to do there, posted. So does anybody have a problem with 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock? Or you want to wait until the 6 o'clock?
I'd rather wait till 6.
You'd rather wait till 6? You would? Okay. Is 6 o'clock okay with everybody?
How about 7 a.m.? Sandy?
I think 6 o'clock better.
6 o'clock, 6 p.m.
6 o'clock on Monday, we'll have a call meeting for that purpose that we talked about earlier there. All right, if there's nothing else, then I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Aye. We will not be coming out on any vote or anything after that.
Get out of here, sir. Wonderful. Good to see you. Good to see you.
You know, I thought you fell off the face of the earth.
Well, somebody told me I had.
I looked in the obituary. I looked for mine first. I went in there, looked for yours.